Hi everyone, Coach Cindy here from All Out Training, and I'm here with my coaching client, Tracy. Tracy is going to share one, a little bit about herself, and two, her journey. And I always love when women come on here because it's one thing when people hear the message from me, it's another thing when people hear the message from other women that have similar stories. And I'm in a fortunate position where I get to hear all kinds of different stories from other women. Unfortunately, we don't yet have a culture of enough women who are sharing those stories amongst themselves. And so I get to hear them, you don't get to hear them. So when women get to join and share their stories, then I feel like we feel a little less alone and we feel more connected to humanity as well. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, Cindy. Glad to be here.
All right, JC, let's start off. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
I don't even know where to start, but I'm almost 57-year-old woman and have two beautiful kids, and now I have two beautiful granddaughters that I love, and have worked as a second generation business owner with my brother for almost 18 years now, which has been very good and very a lot of stress in a lot of ways, but as the end result has been really good. And part of that process was 8 and 7 years ago losing my parents, and that was a lot of trauma with that and going through that, and was a big healing time for me too after that time period. So there's been lots of reflection and lots of work getting me to this point for sure.
Yeah. So we met, you joined the free group, and then you and I jumped on a call. And so I'm just wanting to paint a picture for women is like, where were you at before you joined coaching? Mentally, emotionally, physically, where were you at?
Yeah, I've been struggling, as long as I can remember, struggling with my weight. And that was something that was talked about in my house. It was lots of conversations about eating and snacking and what we were doing. And that really, as I think about it, has really um, been part of my life since I can remember.
Hmm.
And when you look back on when you're younger in those pictures, when I was a teenager, and thought, have this picture in my head of how overweight I was. And then when you look back on the pictures, and I wasn't super skinny, but I wasn't, that overweight. So it's all so much in your head of trying to work on that. And I had done lots of different programs, lots of different things. And I'd seen what you were offering of working with women of my age, um, and working on the piece of really working on the mental part of it, which is to me is the biggest piece, was a difference than I'd seen from any other program that I had done or had seen. So when I joined, I'm like, okay, this is kind of it. This is my last chance at life to lose all this weight and do all this stuff. And I had said that to you, I think, very early on in the call as well. Um, but it certainly has changed over the time of what I've wanted and what I need.
Yeah, we'll get to that because I remember the future letter as well and you coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go because you went there. So let's go with it. So you said needing to work on the mental piece, and that was missing from other things that you had tried. So, what is the mental piece exactly for someone who's like, hey, I've done the fasting, the keto, the shakes, the whatever, the fat burners, whatever I've tried, and I've done the working out more and doing all of that stuff, but they haven't done this. They don't understand what the mental piece means.
For me, the mental piece is everything. It's what drives me, what I think about, how I do it. For me, it's something I've learned so much over this process, and I think there's still so much to learn and to understand. But it's so mental of the conversation you have with yourself, the conversations you don't have yourself, that it's easier to talk to others in a kind, cheerleading way than it is to yourself. So really working on that and being reflective of, okay, well, what about this and what about that? And working with you were said, okay, well, why don't you just do this? I'm like, okay, well, that seems so easy and simple and such common sense when I think about it. But you're, so easy to get in your own way.
Yeah. So, just going back to like childhood. So, childhood messages were like in your household. We talked about body a lot, or body shaming, or that. And then there were relationships that weren't always the most positive, whether that be on emotionally on your psyche, or whether that be physically, on the way you kind of treated your body or the way they treated your body. So it's like you had kind of these messages that were coming at you. One of the things that we worked on was what does your child self need to hear so that we could learn to be kind, because Tracy wasn't always kind in her mind, although she was ultra kind to everybody else. And the other thing that we looked at is you're not good enough story, and looking at how to reframe. So can you talk a little bit about that story for yourself, and kind of what we did?
Yeah, so I certainly was in a relationship for a long time that was not healthy and wasn't good for myself mentally. And when I was able to get out of that and to really break free of that whole thing of not feeling good enough, but also spending so much energy trying to make that other person happy, and getting free of that, um, changed my life in so many different ways, and ultimately changed my kids' lives also. Um, that you're have that you don't have that person telling you that you're not good enough, and then it for me it helped me break that internal voice hearing that as well, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. There's a lot of shouldn'ts in my life. So breaking free of that, of okay, well, I shouldn't do that and I should do this because, and changing that whole narrative of the shouldn'ts to the shoulds, or wants to the needs, right? It's still a huge work in progress, but it's a big shift of how I spent most of my life for sure.
Yeah, and when we worked on food, like the way we worked on food was different than what you'd done in a couple different ways. First of all, you learned about proteins, carbs, and fats and how they work in the body. So we learned about macronutrients. We learned about how to balance your plate and how to spread out the meals, because I have some clients who are like grazers. I have others who eat 3 times, others who don't eat in the morning, and that sort of thing. But one of the biggest things, like once you got that, you wrapped your head around that pretty quickly. The one that we worked on was that Tracy has emotional eating. That happens. It happens after a stressful day, a hard conversation. Other people like taking all of your energy away from you because you do like to give so much to everybody else. I remember there was like some business meetings that didn't go very well as well, and owning your own business. So talk a little bit about emotional eating, kind of like your experience with it. And I think that that helps people, because the common thing that I get, Tracy, is that women say, I'm not emotional. I don't eat when I'm stressed. But then when I go through boredom, lonely, all those other things, and they're like, wait a minute, maybe I am. So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a huge part of it for me, was emotional eating, because that seemed to drive everything. And it's um you know, growing up in a household from a mother who was very strong, very independent, and just kind of did what she needed to do for us for whatever, right? And that certainly I'm the same way. But what happened for me was that then you're not in touch with your emotions. You're not processing what's happening. That's easier to just eat something and stuff that down than dealing with what's happening at the moment of, oh, I'm really feeling really stressed about this meeting, or this conversation I have to have with somebody, or I have to spend money on, replacing my air conditioner and my furnace in my house. How am I going to do that? Day-to-day stuff that just happens, of trying to process that instead of just stuffing it down with food. And like, um, okay, it's curious that I am, feeling really stressed about this, or I know this conversation is going to be hard, but it's going to be okay. I'm going to get through it. This is what's going to happen. And preparing for that helps, but really trying to sit in that moment at that time, like, hey, really, why am I wanting to go to the pantry? Really, what is happening? What what is going on?
Yeah. And I'm guys like when it like Tracy has done a lot of work in terms like even before coaching on being self-reflective. So her being she was up for the challenge in the sense of like, I could ask her the hard questions and she was up to reflect and really sit with it. And then she was up for the task of like, wait a minute, I already know how to do this nutrition thing. I get it. It's this other piece that's getting in the way. So she was in a position or a better position now to really kind of look at it and explore and sit with her feelings as well too. So I think like yeah. So now where you're at though is you're meal prepping with your daughter. So how did we get to that place? Not to say like we're still working on the emotional eating. It still happens, right? Even though
Yes.
it's post coaching, but tell me how do you get to a place where it's like I'm now the person who meal preps and I not only meal prep with myself, I meal prep with my, I think you said 21-year-old daughter,
Almost 24. Yeah.
4-year-old daughter as well. How do you get there?
Yeah, that was an interesting process. And because I think it was talked about so much when I was a kid, food and what we were eating and all that stuff, is I did none of that talking about that with my kids, especially my daughter. So then she, as I started this process with you, she was starting her own process of what she wanted to do. And then we just kind of said, I said, well, why don't we just do this together? Because I was making supper and she was making supper. It was so totally different things. Like we should just do this together. So now it's turned into this um, planning that we talk about, which I don't love talking about it. And I keep saying to her, why don't we just have somebody that tells us what we need to eat? They come and make it for us and then they leave, which doesn't seem to be happening. But it's given us that, okay, let's do this and let's split it up. We both like there not being that choice. We've made this for the week for supper. We just pull it out and heat it up or whatever it is we need to do. And there's no choice. There's no thought. Biggest question I hate is what do you want for supper? I don't know. What do you want? And this is this whole thing, right? So when you take the choice out of it, it's something we're doing together. It's half the work if you're both doing it. It's not all on yourself, especially as a mom, or you feel like you have to take all that on yourself. Food prep, grocery shopping, all that. And for me, I don't love it. So to split it up and kind of take that decision out of what it you're doing has been really good. And we've had some fun with it too. So that's always good.
Love that. I love that because it's like some people, wait to get started until everybody's on board. That wasn't the case. You guys were both like you started, and then she was figuring out her own journey, and then it came together. And
Yeah.
that to say is sometimes rather than waiting for everybody to join, we have to be in a position to lead so that when somebody's ready, we're already on board, right? Um, and so part of your journey is also we have this narrative that says I'm not never good enough, never quite there, never where I should need to be or want to be, and I'm never quite good enough. So there's this push and pull that happens with that is like accepting who you are, so loving yourself, but never feeling good enough. And this part that says love yourself and do the things you need to do, love yourself. So like there's like push and pull, right? So how do you navigate that push and pull?
Yeah, it's always tricky for sure, right? Of if you waited till you were everything was perfect, you'd never do anything, I think, right? Like if you waited till you were this weight, or you waited till you had this much money, right? You waited till whatever that is for you. But for me, the more I got out there, the more I was free of that, of just doing stuff, then I was experiencing different things in life. I was going on amazing trips. I was in a relationship with somebody that I never thought I would be in. Just doing different things really to me was really living my life instead of feeling like I'm living my life for everybody else, right? Your kids, your spouse, your job, your whatever. Then you're really taking control of it and doing different things that are maybe out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too, it's like this, it can be this hard place to navigate in the sense of like I'm accepting myself, so therefore it feels like I'm a free for all. I'll eat whatever I want, work, not work out or whatever. It's because this is me trying to accept myself. But then there's the other level of if you truly accepted somebody yourself and you truly loved yourself, then you would feed your body differently and move your body differently. And then the the feeling of that or the motivator behind that is different because it's not like I should be doing this. Everybody says I should be doing that. It comes from like I have enough respect, self-acceptance, and self-love to appreciate myself enough to do those things. Would you agree?
100%. And it's easy for me, it's easy to get out of that sometimes of, I should go for a walk. Okay. I should go for a walk. I want to go for a walk. I need to go for a walk. Okay. If you were really loving yourself, what would that look like? Because that question for me changes a lot of things. If I
Yeah.
really love myself, then I'd get up and take a walk.
Yeah. And sometimes it's that we don't love ourselves now. So then we have to do it for our future self or for you, the 8-year-old version of Tracy.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a different message around. So you're either doing it for, if you can't do it for the person you are now, can you do it for the 8-year-old version of you, that was yours, or for the 50 or 70, because you said, hey, my parents passed away when they're 70, you're like 20 years away from that. So it's like, and not to say that you're going to pass at 70, but
No, no.
so it's like, can you do it for that version so that you are around for your kids and your grandkids much longer?
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
that's a driving force for me, for sure. And part of it, is losing them fairly young. I mean, it's a weird thing. There's different everybody has lost at different time, and for me, it was it was extremely difficult because it was a lot going on. I had lots. My mom passed away first. My dad was in the hospital almost the whole year before he passed. So I'm trying to look after him. I'm trying to run the business and I'm trying to run my household. And you're trying to do all this stuff. Well, then who gets to the bottom of the list? It's me. So trying to navigate that list and get myself up closer to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned walking the dogs as well. So just before we got on this call, we were kind of troubleshooting something. We were talking about the different seasons of you. So you're like, hey, I have a trailer in the summer. I like to do more walks with the dog and I like to do more swimming. And then I'm not doing my yoga, my jazzercise, and my Pilates as often as I was. And so I always like to talk about that because most people box themselves in the sense of like, it has to be this way, it has to be all or nothing. And we were having a discussion about the different seasons of you and that this season that you're in, even though you're not doing the yoga, the Pilates, or whatever, like you were when we finished coaching, you are doing a lot more than where you were pre-coaching
For
and
sure.
noticing that win. So talk a little bit about like the seasons or the all or nothing.
Well, yeah, we were just having that conversation earlier, and you'd ask me, and I might immediately get defensive and think, oh, I haven't been doing that. Like, oh, crap, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? But then as we talk it through, I'm like, okay, but I am doing this. I am doing this instead. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So if you're not doing what you were doing before, but you're doing something different, then that's okay, right? It's going back to that piece of loving yourself and wanting to whatever, to move more, to walk more. For me, it's kind of a combination of all that stuff, but just accepting what's going on at the moment and not beating yourself up, and just like, okay, well, I am walking, I am moving more, I'm out in the water, I'm doing different stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of self-acceptance and self-love is meeting yourself where you're at. And we do that for other people, right? They're at this stage of life. We meet them where they're at, right? And as they grow, we grow with them or what have you, but we don't give ourselves the same courtesy. And like you pointed out, is I'm way nicer to other people than I am to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Very true.
And
Very
that's kind of a narrative or a story that you've had for a really long time, is that I'll be there for everybody else, but I'll make myself negotiable. And just like how you said, I fell to the bottom of the list. And sometimes we have seasons where we aren't necessarily in the number one position for sure. But it's can we hold ourselves still on the list and still do something though, versus like I'm not even on the radar.
yes, for sure. Yeah. There has to be something. There has to be something in it. You can't give everything away. You have to keep stuff for you. You have to.
Yeah.
I have to, anyways.
Yeah, and I always say it's kind of selfish when you give it all away because then nobody gets the best part of you because they get a drained battery.
Yeah.
They get a cell phone that's always on red. We're not
Yeah, you're
ready
right.
to die. Or so I think that that's the more selfish piece is like, then you deprive everybody that you love, the best part of you, like a full battery on your phone, right?
Hmm.
And I think oftentimes the messages that we see it the opposite
For
is,
sure.
yeah, it's like they're getting the best of me when I can be there when they want, do exactly what they need, drop everything and that sort of thing. But you're a battery on red.
Right. And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what changed most for you, like whether that physically, mentally, or emotionally?
Definitely the mental piece changed the most for me, and um really really accepting who I am, and knowing that I'm still curious, I still want to grow, I'm still looking, trying to look at things differently. But what's exciting to me is when you talk to anybody, um, if you're listening, you can hear a different side, a different perspective that maybe can shift or change your perspective or make you understand their perspective, right? And so you need to do that to yourself too. Really, really, what is it I want? And spending that time talking about it, um, being with yourself, trying to figure that out is what changed the most for me, and trying to understand that and really what is important to me, what is my goal, what is it I want to accomplish here, what is it that I need to feel fulfilled within myself.
Yeah. How do you get to a place though where you like being by yourself? You like your own company, you like
Yeah, see, I've always done that. So it's always been, I struggle when I don't get that time, for sure. Like if I don't have that time of, then I'm really crabby
yeah.
and like having that space. So it's just kind of just sitting with yourself and just being present. And I like doing journaling and meditating or something like that. Then really kind of helps to for me to kind of settle things down.
Yeah. What was the point kind of in the coaching journey where you're like, this is actually working? This feels different. This is different.
It was probably near the end when I did my letter to myself.
Yeah, talk about that.
So I did a letter to myself in December, and which at that time I was, was really in the middle of it, and was um just trying to, again, I'm always trying to be self-reflective, but in some ways I'm still trying to please others, right? So I was still a little bit of, okay, really, what does Cindy want me to say, right? When I had to do when I did my letter again a couple months ago, when I read it, I'm like, wow, I was really hard on myself. I was really looking for these big, huge goals of, wanting to be a certain weight, wanting to be this, wanting to be that. But when I read it through and then I redid the letter, that was the change, was of I was putting too much pressure on myself. I want my goal to be healthier is important than and really loving myself than trying to be a number on the scale.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest shift, I think, and just being happy with myself and being in a loving, healthy relationship with myself, which for me, I need to be. That's really what's important to me.
Yeah. What are you most proud of?
I think realizing that for sure, and just really feeling like I'm I'm just really loving who I am at the moment. And there's still stuff I want to be working on, and still stuff I'm trying to accomplish, and to me I don't think that's ever going to go away, and I think that's good. But it's just really understanding what it is I want, and that I am happy, I am a good person, I am a happy person, right? That's important to me, to be positive, to be upbeat, to I don't know if we're a role model, but to be, that people want to talk to, that, because I love talking to people and hearing different sides. And yeah,
What impact, like, as a result of all that, like, what impact does that have on your day to day? Like, you as a business owner, you as a mom, you as a great friend, you travel a lot as well.
I think just being comfortable in myself, right? I recently did a trip that I knew a couple people, but I went to Europe by myself. right? Didn't have anybody that I traveled with. I mean, I was kind of within this group, but it was a huge step of wanting to do that and knowing that I could do that. And I was totally fine with it. I loved it. It was great. So it's really being comfortable in your own skin and accepting yourself where you are at that moment. And yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, yeah,
Right? You
yeah,
all the different versions of Tracy, right? That was probably the spot she always wanted to get to. She just didn't have the tools, the skills, or even just the know-how to get to that spot, right?
yeah,
And you look back and you're like, I spent so much time trying to trace the number on the scale.
yeah,
Really, this is like where I wanted to be.
yeah. And so what I've noticed since that is that the scale surprises me when I step on it. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
That's pretty freeing.
Yeah. Very free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you feel like I guess like if other women were listening to this and they were like, I guess what do you wish more women understood about what it really takes to get to this place?
Mm. I think just being open, being curious, wanting to do that work, spending time with yourself. Recently had a friend tell me on the weekend that it's so important to spend time with yourself to really um, to understand where you're at, right? Um, and what that you're enough, right? We hear that's kind of a catchphrase of you are enough. Well, you are enough, and it's just holding that true inside, right? Is so important. And talk to yourself the way you talk to other people, how you'd want to be talked to from somebody else. Do that to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. What does self-care mean to you now in comparison to before?
I think what the difference is for me for self care is recognizing what I am doing, journaling, going for a walk, doing meal prep, all of that stuff is self care, right? It doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going to do self care now. I'm going to go to the spa and get a massage or whatever that is. All of those little things that you do, that is all self care. That is all putting in the time, putting in the work. It's all important and it's all amazing. But they're small things. It's not a big, huge
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And I always like the visual that I always like is the battery, you know. I don't know if they make batteries like this anymore, but remember batteries where they had you put the rechargeable batteries in the thing and then it
Oh
showed you
yeah.
I was like where it was on the progression or whatever. And I always think like when you do those self-care things, it's like the battery's filling up. When your battery fills up, you have the capacity to tolerate stress differently, but also to give to others. And so when we're not taking it or just waiting till I can get to the spa or I can get to my massage appointment, it's like think about that battery coming all the way down, but you're still giving at the same rate.
Yeah.
I kind
Yeah.
of no wonder we have a smaller window of stress, so tolerance. No wonder we're like, losing our cool a lot more often or feeling really burnt out, right? I guess like, is there any last message that you would give to a woman who's watching this, who's like, I've done it all, I'm destined to be this way, and still chasing the number on the scale, or I don't have time? What would you say to her?
I would say have patience with yourself. There is some work involved, but it's always you're just trying to be the best version of yourself you can. You're trying to keep your battery as full as you can for as long as you can. And the only way to do that is to keep doing little bits to keep it recharged. You can't wait till it's totally red and dead. And then you're like, oh, I need to recharge myself. It's too late. You need to do a little bit at a time just to keep doing it. And the more I think, the more we love ourselves, the more we can love others and we can give more to that, right? If your battery is low, you're not giving out what you want to potentially give out for
No,
sure.
no. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Tracy, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Cindy.